Hey, saltwater anglers, and welcome to the Lower Chesapeake Bay Fishing Report, your local report, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. This podcast is part of the Great Days Outdoors Network, and each week we'll be talking to local experts to learn ways we can become better anglers in our pursuits offshore, nearshore, and inshore. To keep this amazing fishery healthy and thriving for generations to come, remember to protect what you pursue. Summer fishing is fired up with warm water and hungry fish moving into the bay. So let's hear who's making this show possible, and then we'll jump into the reports. Check it out. AFTCO has a gift for our listeners. They're now offering a camo sunglasses cleaner cloth with any purchase of AFTCO products. For cool mornings, I love my Reaper sweatshirt. And on those hot days, my Samurai sun shirt. You just can't beat the quality and performance. All you got to do to get your coupon code is text LCBFR to 779-345-2918 to get subscribed to our email list, and we'll send you the promo code via email. Boaters know that the unexpected can happen anytime. That's why Seatow offers 24/7 on-water assistance with priority service for members. Whether it's a dead battery, running out of fuel, or needing a tow, Seatow's fleet is ready to help. Membership includes unlimited towing with no distance or dollar limits in your home area, fuel delivery, jump starts, and more. Plus, members receive exclusive discounts on fuel, electronics, dockage, and boat insurance. With over 500 ports nationwide, Seatow has you covered wherever you boat. Join today at seatow.com and boat with confidence. All right, you guys, welcome to this week's show. It is the beginning of September. The northeast winds are just gently starting to blow. We're going to pray them away and pray for some south winds to come back so we can continue to chase some of the epic fishing that's been going on out of Virginia Beach lately. And I thought that there's nobody better to talk about with epic fishing than Captain Bill Pappas playing hooky. Welcome back to the show, Cap. How are we doing tonight?
Hey, man, welcome aboard Playing Hooky Charters, man. It's good to see you.
You too, man. I always get excited when we're going to record because I know two things is going to happen. One, we're going to have fun, and two, we're probably going to learn something and hear a crazy story along the way. So catch us up, man. Catch us up. What's been happening? What happened with the ladies tour or the ladies billfish tournament?
All right, so it was a ladies open, ended up being where they could catch mainly billfish, but it was also a category for tuna and mahi. And remember last time we spoke, we talked about we were going to do a contest on our page where basically it didn't matter if you have 10,000 followers or you had no followers, but all you had to do was, number one was don't get seasick. And number two, post a picture of yourself with an offshore fish, meaning you've been offshore with a sea bass in the winter, just something that shows you've been further than the regular place and you've had to put a full day in it. And if you can handle that, then you should be able to handle fishing with us. So we had 37 entries and we had a huge response and it was a big post. Everyone was really into it, and my daughter is funny part on the side. My daughter's like, Dad, are you looking for a girlfriend or something? I was like, no. I was like, no. I was like, here's the deal. The main reason I did this tournament is because I have two sisters, right? And a mom. That makes three versus couple one. But I really love those girls. And when we did a tournament, for example, won't name the tournament, but there's a $250 prize for the women. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of women out there who want to get competitive and be a part of it too. And if you're giving away 30,000, 20,000 for some of these tournaments, then, there should be a spot for them to make some money too, because they go out there and they want to fish too. And there's a lot of them that love it, and it's awesome. So that being said, my little sister loves to fish, and a lot of people I do know love to fish. And I had always thought about it for years and years and years, just building all these girls that really like to come on the boat and fish real hard and build some badass team and sponsor a couple of it as I could. Well, we happened to win the Spanish mackerel tournament, which we talked about. And I figured, hey, why not kick it forward and supply these, and sponsor these girls, and let's go out there. So it ended up being like $1,000 value. You figure the charter plus the entry fee, each person would be around there. Yep. And we sponsored it, and we had a huge response, and we went live and did the drawing, and everyone pretty much was watching because we chose the first person, she was ready to roll. The second person, she was like, yeah, she was ready to roll. Then we had a third, but drawn as a backup, and a fourth that said she could definitely go. So once we had one commit, the second one was within a few minutes, already knew that she couldn't commit. So we found one more person, the third person got to go. And we ended up building a great crew. We had some my sister, my niece out there, my sister Becky, and my niece Mia, and they love fishing. So it was good having them out there. And then for the tournament, so we all had our money in. We didn't go in the Wahoo division, but we're out there ready to fish. All right, we get out there and we go. Everyone goes from Marlin pretty much. They were doing their thing, and we were like, we're gonna go get go get some tuna. So we went to the tuna grounds and we were on right off the bat. Line's not even in the water. We're on. And we get it all the way to the boat and it's a false albacore. And look, most times, and I'm being honest, most times when you have a girl on the boat or a woman on the boat, they're used to fishing with guys or want to get them incorporated to fishing. So I'm not saying they over exaggerate when they catch a croaker this big or anything, but this has been known to happen. But there's been a lot of great catches out there that makes that gets them to smile. I don't care if it's a croaker that big. If it makes them smile, it's great for fishing and it's great for them to enjoy the sport. But this being said, we get these fishing, and instead of the whole boat going, yeah, well, they started to go, yeah. Me and Russ were like, before I could say a thing, Russ had already unhooked it and flipped it back without even taking a picture or anything. And on a charter, that's like a no-no. That's huge, you know? And honestly, to be honest, it was their tripping, man. It should have been about having fun and all this and that. But hey, when we were going, I was putting a team together to win the dang thing. And that's what I wanted to do and focus on doing. So wasn't there to flirt with these girls or flirt with everybody and talk to I was there to kick some butt and and then watch them win too. And then they get that feeling of the win and they get the money. Because all of them said they could have used the extra money.
Hey, one thing is true about tournament fishing. It is different than fun fishing or even charter fishing because like a Cobia tournament, for example, you're not going to throw at half of the fish that you would throw at. And the same, is true offshore. Those fish, you got to come and go. You got to get those lines back in the water. You got to be targeting the main thing as much as you possibly can be. You really don't have time to take pictures. But I am curious that false albacore, that first hit, what lure did it hit out of your spread?
All right, so that false albacore whacked nice one of Russ's beautiful ballyhoos he puts out, and we get it to the boat. And instead of celebrating, it was more of like they wanted to take some pics, and he flings this thing right back over. And I was thinking, Russ, man, what are you doing? Like, you can't do that on the charter, man. Like, usually you can't. And I'd known just from a trip in the past and in the future, it was just like a lot of albies. So I was like, oh, here we go. We're going to have to weed through them. Yeah. And then as we started catching more, they wanted to take some pics, and they were taking turns, and these girls were whipping some butt. They were kicking these fish's butt, hoping for that big bite. And a couple of them, they came in hot enough on the pull and the zip, because these false albacores were big. They were probably 3 citation, over 32-inch falsies. They're giant.
Wow.
One of their nickname is Fat Alberts, and they call them that because they get that big and they make a heck of a pull. So we're driving around, we're getting through our day. We've got some pictures, we got some, a lot of action, just tons, but it's not the fish we're looking for. And we finally, I drive over, I leave our spot that I was thinking was going to be it. I had to make the move. It was like something else. And I tried something else. And sure enough, we got the big bite. And I'm talking the big bite. Like, we had been fishing for tuna for, months. Russ and I and all of the whole fleet. So we were used to a certain amount of zip, certain amount of stop. And these girls were kicking butt. So we knew it wasn't them. It wasn't like, oh, these girls they were kicking butt. They were great. My sister was in there kicking butt. Mia was kicking everybody. They were cheering each other on. Like, it was good stuff. Like, they weren't like, you know what I mean? It wasn't a struggle. They were ready to fish. And so during this battle here, we get this fish on. It wears someone out in 5. And before that, they had fought a lot of these albacores, but they started whipping this tuna. So we went through 3 girls whipping that tuna, like 5 minutes each, and we put another person in there, took them a bunch of minutes, and then we got her off. We got my sister back, and my sister started to whoop this thing, and I was like, get him, Beck. And she had him. She was belting him in, and we got him to the side of the boat, and the thing came to the side of the boat, and it was a brute. I'm telling you what, when I tell you this, and I mean it, I've seen a lot of fish this year, and I've seen, up to 50 and 60 pounders. This was big, man. This looks definitely like a 70 pounder, and it didn't have to be. It really didn't have to be. It could have just been a 50, 40, whatever. We'd have taken it, but it happened to be the one that we wanted. And we had just caught one fish on the last trip for the Spanish mackerel tournament. So we knew we had our luck up, and it could have been, how could we be lucky enough to hook the giant twice? We did it. Get this thing all the way to the boat. It's at the leader. They're already video and pictures, and the fish guns it under the trim tab, wraps the trim tab, runs it back to the starboard corner. And I can see him holding the leader to his right, and the fish out to his left shoulder. I'm like, uh-oh. And sure enough, when it all happened, pow! And it was another heartbreaker, man. And everyone's and it was that silence bite where everyone on the boat was like crickets. And I was like, you just couldn't say much. And then, you know what? Fortunately, we started catching another couple of albacores, and I spotted this thing floating. And it was looked like a potato sack or orange. Usually you see some oranges out there in these big orange burlap sacks. And so I roll up on it, and I know I got baits out because we're trolling a tuna with this big boat from Ocean City had already blown by everything. But because he saw us trolling for it, it was a nice calm day. He made a huge U-turn about a mile away and tried to gun it for this buoy. And I had a fish on. Normally we would stop to get this fish, but I was like, look, guys, hammer the drag down. I got to get here. And I had first crack at it. I was right there. I was within 100 yards, a couple hundred yards. So I keep pulling for it, keep pulling. I'm dragging this fish across the top. I'm like, just horse him in, yoke him in, because it doesn't count for the tournament.
Right.
So we yoke this fish. And the moment we get the fish and we pass the buoy, and boom, we get hooked. We have a Mahi's come up and strike. They don't hit. They don't take.
Heck yeah.
But they don't take. So Russ is quick. I go, Russ, get the bailers, because the two of them are following us. I think most of these tournaments, you have to troll to catch your bait. You can't stop and bail. I think some people did that day. I don't know if they discussed it that well, but the way the catches looked, there had to be, if you have 10 Mahi, I mean, you're not catching 10 on a troll that often. So,
right.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of odds out there. Be that being said.
Oh, so you have to catch them trolling. You can't just stop and pitch baits.
Yes.
Got it.
That's what most of the rules are for most of the tournaments. So that being said, Russ ran into the cabin, got a spinning rod. He threw out a bunker on a piece, let it out the back. She held and then kept letting it out while we're moving because I had to keep moving. I had my whole spread out. I still had 8-9 rods out. You know what I mean? Or whatever the rules were. We had 6 rods out of the 7 or 8 we were allowed to put out. Probably cleared a couple. And then while I'm in the turn on the object, my back lure hadn't even cleared it yet. This other boat, whoa, I'm talking a 50-foot sport fisher, 40, turns in with a diesel, turns around and backs down, and he's got a bunch of up northerners holding their rods and ready to start pitching baits at the thing. And I'm like thinking to myself, man, I saw 2 fish come off it. They were a pair. And fortunately, right then, boom, we get hooked up. Lindsay gets hooked up, and we get one hooked up, peeling out the bait, and we get that one to the boat. And while we're still trolling, of course, then boom, we get that in the boat, gaff it up, and we thought it was gonna be. We're looking at it like it's gonna be a good fish. So we get all excited, we got a fish that we can enter. Hadn't heard of much caught, and we get back into the inlet, and there's only a few Mahi caught, and the ones we're looking at were big. We got a bigger one. We're like, yes, we're all pumped. We get everybody down there to go check it out. We get all the way up to it, and there was a fish that edged us out by about 1.5 pounds. Oh. And you know what? Congratulations to them and my crew for trying so hard, and their crew for catching the fish and stuff. And the crews that caught the Marlin, they got some money, and I think the most money went to the meat section. So, I mean, when they do this open again next year, it'll be interesting when everyone throws their money in. But one of the mandatory
where it goes,
part of that tournament mandatory is you have to throw in for the Marlin. So to get to the other levels, you have to throw in for the Marlin. So if it was an open and it was if it had you could enter categories, it might be and plus we try to put our name in there to give the tournament some publicity and let the women fish make some money on the women's tournament. All women. Sure. That's bad. That's awesome. Yeah. And there's not an invitation only, or you don't got to jump through a burning hoop to make it in the tournament. You can be a small boat and enter and play. Yeah. It's you might not win the Marlin part, but you could try and you might win the Marlin part. You never know. Lately, the Marlin's been
well, that's pretty generous. I mean, first of all, thanks for sharing the whole detail of like the event, the ladies, the picking process, and then getting out there and like what the bites were like. I mean, it's such a rush to kind of go play by play and understand what that tournament day was like. And gosh, that had to just be so hard to watch that leader, break on a trim tab. But that's fishing, I think we've talked about it before. Like the ultimate test of gear is a big tuna. Like that's the ultimate test of gear, and your crew's communication is a big tuna. And unless you're perfect, that tuna will find a way to exploit you and break you off. They're so brutal.
There was no tunas caught in the tournament. There was also that would have been like I said, it could have been 40, 50, 60. Didn't matter. It would have been the tuna. And we were, look, man, you know what I look at it too, like you're saying, sushi just swam away. Sushi said, "You're not getting my sushi today," and the sushi got away. You know what I mean? Sometimes you got to give hats off to the sushi for winning it at the end. It was a good fight, man. He saved just enough in the tank to take us out at the end, man. Congratulations to Megan and Mary for putting on that tournament for us, and that was very nice of them to get that going. It was short notice, and next year it'll be better, even bigger and better.
Absolutely. I thought it was great too. They did it. It's a great cause that they support. And then being able to like pick it kind of last minute. Yeah, it was a little last minute, but the forecast was great. The weather was great, which made for
it was beautiful.
A really beautiful day of fishing for everybody. But Tell us about this white marlin bite that's been going on. I mean, it's been hot and heavy. You've been out there. You guys have caught a couple, and then you've gotten into the mahi really good. So, kind of give us the lowdown. It's the beginning of September. Like, is this fishing going to stay kind of good for the month of September and maybe October, or is this just like a blip on the radar?
Honestly, this is years and years ago. It was good, but I don't know if it was this good. This has been great. I mean, I know hats off to Randy Butler on the Rebel. He used to put the live baits out and catch the tinker mackerels and do really good catching them and load the flags up and down the riggers. But for to have a trolling bite this good, there's nothing been seen like it. Just to give you an example, we had a guy from Wisconsin come fish with us, and he was a solo. So we ended up getting him a couple gaffers on the troll, and he was very happy with that. So we moved out towards the deep water, and I found this patch of water, and I don't know what comes over me, but I just had this, or what came over me, but I had this nervous feeling that this blue water was like, it was just making me itch to get him out. So I was like, Russ was trying to put the riggers down. I was like, Russ, get it out. Get the teaser out. Just get it out. Get something. Give me the daisy chain out now. And he kind of gave me that like cake it eat. And I was like, and as soon as he got the daisy chain out, he got one or two more out, and bam, we had plowed into a double header of white marlins jumping on. Now we have one client, and I'm up top, so there's only him down there fighting one, and then Russ being the mate. So the other one is on the rod, just flipping out, going everywhere. He's battling away on this thing, and while he's battling away, the third line starts to go off, and I'm like, Russ, feed him. Because I want Russ to get that experience. He hasn't really marlin fished that much. He's a great fisherman, but every step is a new step. So I'm like, feed him, and Russ and it's chasing him. He's letting it out. I'm like, turn it loose, turn it out, let it out. And he's feeding him, and he just can't get. And then eventually he's got to go help the angler. So he drops the rod back down, and then we start working with our angler. Well, he gets it all the way to the side of the boat, and he wants to kill it to eat it. But we're looking at it, measuring it. It's not very easy. When you want a 95-inch fish and you got one, a 65-inch fish, and you've got one around 63 to 64, and you're just like, you're looking at it around that area. You're like, I don't know if he's gonna be, just thinking about it. So you just gotta let it go, man. You can't take the risk. But it's a tough deal. To pull him in, you know how to pull him in, and a whole bunch of stuff, and takes picks. There's a whole bunch of rules about those that have been done for 50, 60 years and never really harmed them too bad. But that's another opinion, another battle, another day.
Right.
But anyway, so we let this guy's fish go. The other one is like thrashing everywhere. He runs over to that one, fights it up. He gets another one, and then we get another double. I run, and Russ is trying to get the deck under control, but I'm already knowing where I see it, and I've already turned. There's 3 Rudy Inlet head boats worth of fish.
Wow.
Called you your sister. And there's 3 Rudy head boats worth of fish. And there you are, buddy. Sorry about that.
Oh, you're good.
There's that many. That's that big a school of fish, and I see these birds just picking all over it. And I've never seen anything like this. The birds are going down to get the bait, but while they're going down, they're freaking out and flying back up real fast. And they're flying up real fast. And I'm like, what are they doing? And I look underneath it, and it's probably 50 to 80 bills just thrashing all in a huge pile of just everywhere. They're just thrashing. So the birds are just eating the bait, but they're watching out not to get sorted. And it's like, or, hit. And I'm just like, oh my God. I'm like, get him out, man. Get him out. Russ is getting him out. And
So billfish will actually school up like that?
In all my life, I've never seen, I'm sure they do, and I'm sure people have seen it, but I hadn't. And so to see it like that, I was excited. Crazy. I was like, Russ, look, and he's looking. So we go back through it, and you only have 2 lines out, 3 lines, and bam, all 3 are covered up with white marlins flying out of the water everywhere. I mean, I'm dropping the popper out on the top of the bridge. I'm like, yeah, I'm hooked up top. I'm fighting one. They're fighting one. We're all fighting.
Hold on. You hooked a white marlin on a popper?
Up on the bridge on a TLD 25. Heck yeah, bro.
No way, dude. That's so sick.
Yeah, man. I had this popper out. I was like, sending it right down the gut because they were both hooked up to the sides, and I slung it back. Oh my God.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was absolutely great. It was absolutely great. You never see anything like that at all, man. You never do. You just never see it. And we hooked up. I fought mine. He fought his. We all got one to the boat. And then the guy, after I think it was a couple more. We probably had 8 that day. We only said we had 5 because we only had 5 flags to fly. So it was like, all right, we just get to 5. It's fine. You give him 4, and that's it. Russ wanted his, and that'd be that. Russ can have his. But we caught a couple more for the guy, and literally he was in the rod holder fighting the last ones. And he goes, guys, and this was all in an hour and a half. He's like, guys, can we do something else? I don't want to do this anymore. And I had literally tracked this school. They were slowly moving north. So I had tracked them a half mile away. When the birds broke up and everything, I still tracked them. And then during the last battle, I didn't tell you this part, but during the last double that we had on, there was a huge 400 to 500 blue marlin lit up coming through the spread. He was longer than the boat wide, and the boat's really 10 foot or something, so it was longer than that. It was huge, and it was checking. It ran up and hit the sterling tackled rain chain. It smacks the rain chain right in the middle and yokes it, and lets go. He just went up to the next thing and was trying to hit that. Of course, all I got is a TLD 25 and a popper, and I'm trying to feed him up there. I'm like, come on, baby. And I've got him all over it. He's going for it. I'm trying to nail him. I'm about to get him a peck on it. And he just turned off it again, looked again at more stuff, kept window shopping. He stayed with us probably, it felt like a minute, but it was probably like 20 to 30 seconds of a huge turn. We went pretty far with him, all up in our thing, lit up, following us, eating our stuff. It was exhilarating. And Russ saw it. I was like, you see it? And they were like, oh my God, they're freaking out. So we saw some fish, and the guy was like, can we do something else? And I was like, man, you never, ever see National Geographic like this, ever. And I was thinking to myself, man, like, how do you leave this? And I was like, well, all right, as you wish, they say. And so all I did was steer the boat away from the massive pile of marlin.
Oh.
And after I steered it away from this massive pile of marlin, I told the guy, I said, hey, now we're tuna fishing, now we're mahi fishing, and now we're wahoo fishing. With the same spread out, obviously, but we're probably not marlin fishing right this second because we're out of them. So that's what we did. And we had another nice gaffer bite when we were leaving the area, but it was tough to leave. That was the most exhilarating hour and a half of marlin fishing we ever got to encounter, man. We didn't get to go back at it, but it was fun, man. You don't get stuff like that often, like you said, buddy. You don't ever see anything like that.
No, I mean, that definitely sounds like National Geographic. And, for the guy that was experiencing that, maybe he just, thought that was common. Like I've had that, before with like a Cobia trip where you take, some buddies who's never been before and their minds are blown. You're like, listen, it's not like this all the time, and to them, it just seems like, oh yeah, you go out there and catch 20 Cobias, no big deal. Let's do something different. Like, no, you don't understand. You don't catch 20 Cobias every day. I think my favorite thing I ever heard said about this type of thing was Captain Zach Hoffman on Salt Treated. He was like, dude, I saw this cobia one time, and he was like, it was so big, and he was like, you didn't get a cast on it. He's like, but if we hooked it, I was going to tell everybody that the charter was free because I was going to go downstairs and fight it myself. Charter's free.
That's what's up, man.
I was thinking about you. You could have been like, hey guys, charter's free. We're going to stay on this white marlin bite for the rest of the day. Sorry. Because I mean, that is truly special. I mean, in your opinion, having fished for these things for so many years, and then seeing what it's like right now, just like the tuna bite, which has been the best ever. What in your opinion is going on that is creating such an unbelievable fishery this year? I mean, it's crazy to see how many white marlins are being caught and how many tunas were caught. Like, do you have any guesses anecdotally as to what could be causing all this?
It's definitely a readjustment, I think, to the bait pattern out there, to one fishery feeding on one thing, and if it doesn't work out, another one comes and replaces it, and then it finally has to take a few years to take hold. But we've gotten lucky with some eddies. The tuna fishing was, everyone started to try those inside areas because a lot of people weren't trying, and it's just such a bad, you get years and years of bad things. Guys on the radio the other day brought up a good point. If there were more charters, and right now the economy isn't still at its best.
Right.
So once the economy would pick up and you get more charters and more charter boats again, you get more coverage out there and you find more fish. You're able to work together as a team and you'll be able to have, more successful trips. But lately it's been either north or south, and I happened to go in the middle of nowhere. And when I found these fish, there was nobody around. I called on the radio like when I had to leave. I was like, anybody even near me? Can you pick me up? Nobody was picking me up on 79. It was a Wednesday, summer. It was still August, I believe. I mean, it just shows the state, of the economy and the way things have slowed down just right now while we get adjusted. And it'll come back. It'll all come back. We're a great country.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think one of the things that, you said there makes a lot of sense, which is just the fact that, like, hey, if there's not a bunch of boats out there, I mean, that's just that much less coverage to get out there and try to locate things.
Yeah. I mean, people aren't going to go fishing if somebody didn't catch a fish there. And if you even wait a week or two, it could be over for that season if you're not particularly knowledgeable of exactly when those things start and when they don't. Like, there's certain times to do this, there's certain time to try for that, there's certain times to get on it for this. And you go by patterns and you go by seasons and you go by past recollections is really all you're doing. And you know what helps is, really as stupid as it sounds, is Facebook will pop a picture up and get you really going. They'll show you a memory of yours. You're like, I just caught this. And you know what they've been showing me a lot of lately? Mahi,
What's that?
Mahi, buddy. I've been getting a
Yeah.
lot of memories of Mahi. So I'll tell you a Mahi story. The Mahi fishing's pretty good off Virginia Beach right now. Like you said, the tuna was great this season. The Marlin is still awesome. There's deep drop opportunities, but those were used to be just the bailout part of the trip, and they're chosen for deep drop, and they're also a lot of people able to troll and enjoy a whole day of trolling for Marlin and Mahi. Well, the other day we had a walk on for Mahi, and we went to a couple of our fads out there, and they weren't as successful as we needed, but we got a couple off it, and I just pushed to the east, and eventually I ran into, I think it was the Oregon Inlet fleet was working this patch of water. I knew if I went a little further, it's probably about 3,000 feet deep. It was about 4 miles over the edge, but I happened to be going right there. That's where I was aiming anyway. And I was like, oh, what do you know? And they were all heading south. They were coming back down from where they fished. But I found a grass line, and we stayed on that grass line for a little while. And eventually we had a Mahi come up and jump our spread. And when he did, I had a feeling there could be some more there. So I pulled everything in, and I went back and I threw some chum out, and they came out, and we got some Mahi. Well, we got pushed off it because I guess we floated away from it, and another boat, I guess to the north, saw me do it. And he went in there and pushed my spot. And I was like, God darn it. That's just the way it goes sometimes. So what I did was, the trip was over, but we had one spot on the trip that didn't get filled on the walk on, which means I get some meat. So I was like, all right, we'll pull up for it just cause. And I went to this huge mat. It was probably the size of two school buses. And I threw out some chum, and sure enough, these nice ones came out, and we brought about 20 or 30 of them with us. And I drifted them all with us for a while. We threw the chum out, kept a few on the line, slung them in the boat like clockwork. And we had a good time. And Troy Marine, what's up, buddy? He was there with me, slinging them in the boat with his buddies. And we had some of our regular, Rick, one of our regulars was there, ripping them up. And honestly, Russ was kicking butt down on the deck. So we had a lot of great catch for 27 Mahi or somewhere in there. Got back, and we all got 4 or 5 Mahi each. And I got to bring that Mahi down to Florida for my dad. He wasn't feeling well, and he's, recovering and stuff. And so I got to go ahead and feed the family, hang out with my whole family down here for a little bit of time, and brought some tuna. And of course I brought some Mahi. Now I didn't make tahi macos. I know. But I got a new
You need
recipe.
to confess.
I got a new recipe for you guys. Here's a new recipe. So you're going to take your Mahi, defrost it, and you're going to pour some half and half, 50-50, A1 in Worcestershire. All right.
Okay.
You're gonna marinate it. You have to marinate it for a minimum of 2 hours, maximum to 4 to 5. But you want to get a good little coat on it. And the key is that you want to grill it. I use charcoal. That's the best recommendation I can give you. But if you're not, you're gonna grill it. But you have to oil your grill first with some peanut oil. So get your grill nice and going. Close it up. Don't just put it right on. Let it grill get closed up. Let it get real hot. Come back, hit the oil on it. Close it up. Let it get real hot again. And then put your fish on it. It should make a nice sizzling noise. Make those marks in there like you really want. So then
you mean like oil the griddles with peanut oil?
Yes, sir. You oil the actual grilling surface.
Got it.
And then after you oil the grilling surface, you want to just go ahead and put that on there and hear that sizzle go and throw it on there. Now you want to use a big long spatula to flip it, and you can flip it over after the outside edges turn white. But before you do that, right when you put it on the grill, I want you to salt it on the grill, okay? So with that, you do get the first flip, it's already got some table salt on it. Then when you flip it, and always put it the skin side down on the first one because it's the hottest flame. You want to work it that way. That way it's a lot stiffer on the flip. So those are 2 keys.
Okay.
But then once you flip it over, you're gonna get your sauce, and you're gonna put a little bit of sauce over top of it just to let it get that final, and then lightly salt that, and then finish grilling it for the same amount of time it took both ways, and then you're gonna be good to go.
Man, I'm already hungry just thinking about it. And I want to know, you got your family there with you. Have they already eaten the Mahi prepared this way?
I don't know. I don't think I've ever grilled it for them. Maybe my sister has, because she comes over a lot. She's watched a lot of the Eagles kick butt. Ooh, go Birds.
Go Eagles.
And, sorry, Cowboys fans, we're taking you out. Anyway, you had to give me a shout out.
This is their beer.
That's awesome, man. Well, that sounds like another delicious recipe coming to the Playing Hooky PHC Cookbook 2020. It's going to be great.
Yeah, it will be, man. It's an easy one. That's the thing. I got to find out what products I can put on there. But I mean, why not let me use it? I'm going to ask them all. Can I use it on my cookbook? Like, people they'll buy it if they do. It's like, I don't want to. You don't got to give me any money. It'd be great. Be sponsored by A1.
Ooh.
Like my steak sauce. I mean, what do you get? Steak sauce for life? What do you get? A bottle? I only need a bottle a year. You know what I mean? I don't burn that. Two bottles a year. But anyway, yeah, man, it's a great recipe, man. It works real good. It works. Use that for your thicker pieces of Mahi, your bigger Mahi, in your front sections. It works great on the tail too, but I use the smaller ones for the tahi macos. They're a lot sweeter.
Oh yeah, man. That was one of the best fish tacos that I've ever had in my life. And I'm not just saying that because we're friends or because you come and give great reports on the podcast. I mean that with all sincerity. It's such a simple recipe, but gosh, it's just so good. And mahi is just the perfect fish for that recipe. So, and we'll have to drop a link to which episode that was where you gave the tahi mako recipe.
Yeah,
But good
send me
Lord,
that again.
it's so stinking good.
People want to get that off every time they get off of charterways. They want that. I got to send them the link. So yeah, I'll get that.
Yeah.
I'll give them first.
Very, very good. So real quick, for the listeners that are like, okay, it's September, I might want to try to go out and catch a mahi or two. You mentioned some fads, and for those that are listening that don't know what a fad is, what is a fad? What does fad stand for?
Guys, I have no idea what Luke is talking about at all, guys. He's gonna have to tell you because these are top secret locations. No, I'm just kidding. All right, fads are fish tracking devices.
Okay,
which you put up. So you put a buoy out in a safe zone, and hopefully you can get some fish to pile up on it. You know, that's all you really want is some fish to pile up on it. You can get back around it and work that buoy.
I don't want to blow up anybody's spot, but I will say that I did see some fads the other day that had a funny name written on the side of them. I'm not going to say where they were, but they were in a spot that I wouldn't consider a safe zone because to me, right smack dab in the middle of the windmill farm is probably not a safe zone because there's going to be a lot of boats going by. But what do I know? At any rate, I'll tell you after we get done recording what the name on the side of the fad was because it was a pretty funny name. But anyways,
that's fun.
So it didn't say PHC. I can promise.
No,
you
we don't. Yeah. We just put out crab traps from time to time, man. That's all.
and so if somebody wanted to make a fad or put a fad out, like I'm assuming that's like you said, it's something you got to do in a safe area, and then so you pull up to a fad. Is it something that you troll by, or do you?
A lot of people like to do that first. You troll by them first with some baits out, but if they're far enough apart and you don't got time to put baits out, you don't want to pull all the baits and put the spread back out. It's a lot more convenient to have some cut bait. You don't want to have some squid, or you can use some. What works best really is bunker from the inlet. You put the work in, you always get the results. You throw some fresh nets to get some fresh bait. Get out there. I mean, live baits will help, but when it comes to mahi, they'll eat a t-shirt soaked in squid juice. You know what I mean?
That sounds like something you've actually had to do before.
Don't ask me how I would know this. Don't ask me how I would know this.
A t-shirt soaked in squid bait. So you caught a mahi.
Juice. No, I've never caught a mahi. I've probably caught 50 mahi with squid. We were commercial fishing. We were commercial fishing, and we were commercial fishing. My nephew and I, and we were murdering the mahi. We probably had like 140 by the time it was done. But you get so keyed in that when you run out of bait, you're like, well, we're out of bait. They got it all. And we were chumming too. So I was like, all right, give me the boxes. And we got the boxes back out. And I started soaking some shirts and some boxes, cutting up some squares. And I mean, it stayed on the hook. It reminded me of a squid bite, fish bites.
Yeah,
it reminded me of fish bites because it had the mesh on there, and I was burning it up on the same piece. I mean, I probably caught. I mean, when you blow it up mahi. Usually you throw the bait, they got it in their belly in no time. So yeah, it was amazing. And I learned that from my grandma Rosie. Shout out to Grandma Rosie. Yeah, she taught us that when she's like, yeah, I used to catch flounders on it up in New York. She'd lose a long strip of her when she ran out of bait. She'd put a strip of her t-shirt out there and burn them up. So I didn't make that up, but that's a Pappas one.
That's such a great like entrepreneurial thing to do fishing wise. And one of the things that I love about what you charter captains can do is like you guys always find a way to adapt and think outside of the box, which is so necessary to be successful when you're fishing offshore because you don't have a tackle store to choose from out there. You don't have a bait supply endless to choose from, and a lot of times the conditions change or the bite changes, and you got to sit there and do some critical thinking and come up with some possible solutions and then do them. So that's a good fresh reminder to like, don't let yourself get caught in a box when you're out there like, oh, well, they're not biting the squid, so I guess this day is over. Like, no, you got to start thinking and try some things and figure it out and make it work.
Yeah, I got two good tips for you guys to try. If you guys out there want to try something pretty cool, try some bacon. Try bacon one time. Cut the white fatty part with a strip of bacon, put about a 3-inch piece on there and see how that does for you. They go crazy. It can be smoked. They go crazy for bacon, dude. They
That's
go
nuts.
crazy for bacon. Now, another thing, I'm going to give you guys another tip. Tip of the day is when you're making cut bait and you get home and you're cutting your flounder up and you don't eat that ribbon on the outside, cut that ribbon off, all of them. And when you take that ribbon, or say you got a belly that, maybe you got enough flounder where you're good, and maybe you save a belly for bait the next time. You take those strips and you get a piece of clear wrap out, make it really long, but you put those pieces for about 3 inches away and you roll it up into a big roll and freeze it. That way, when you pull it out of your cooler, it stays frozen the whole time. And as you unwrap it, you roll out one piece that's cold and ready to rock each time without worrying about your bait sitting out in your cut bait and getting disgusting. This is something I've been doing in the sun and fishing in the John boats, and just for years. It's a nice way to keep your bait.
Roll up an individual bait in clear wrap.
Yep.
And then freeze it, and then that way they're all individual.
It comes out as a ball.
Yeah. So it's like instead of it all just being one big solid frozen mess that's disgusting, you've got almost like the IQF process for shrimp, like they're individually frozen. And
as you unroll it, you got a fresh piece.
That's cool. That's a very good tip. And when it comes to mahi, if you're looking at like your charts, for example, your sea surface temperature or your chlorophyll, what are some of those key things that you look for, to get near where there's going to be mahi? Are you looking at temperature break? Okay.
Yes, sir. Yeah, you definitely are looking at that temperature break. The other day it was 75 on one side and 78 on the other. Right there was where the bite with the grass line was, the mahi were. And I've seen one in times where Matt and I were going in some 60 something and it hit 79 out of nowhere. It was like green to dark blue. We stopped as soon as we put over, hooked up, sailfish, had a tuna on, sailfish's tail wrap. We had to fight the tuna. And and then we started bailing the mahi that day in commercial fish. We creamed them. Oh my God, it was the best fish.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was amazing.
So a temp break, and then are we really paying attention in addition to the temp break? Do we need to be in blue water or green water or a mix, or is it more focused on the temp break and looking for, grass or something floating in that temp break area?
All right, this is a good one. I mentioned this at the seminar for Pavaramo's seminar to saltwater sportsmen, but this is a great tip for offshore fishermen. Now, I used to think, of course, you find the warm water, let's get in there, let's go fish. No, you want to stay on the edge. When you finally find it, stay there, because it's the fish tank philosophy. If you come to your house and you bring home fresh fish to your fish tank, what do you got to do? You got to leave it in the bag. You got to leave it in the bag for 10, 15 minutes, let the water's acclimated, because if not, what's going to happen if you put them right in there? He's going to be lethargic and all weird, right? Well, here's what happens. Picture this. You're back in the inlet. You're at Rudy Inlet. You're in the creek, and the tide drops really fast. Now, you had some warm water in there, but that tide dropped so quick that the air temperature dropped that water temp. What happens to the baits that are used to that warmer temperature? The temperature drop that fast makes them slow and lethargic. And then the puppy drum have the advantage in stripers because they're good at cold water swimming, and they speed up when they're lethargic, and that's when they feed and the water goes nuts because they got lethargic. So same thing happens offshore. The baits cross the lines. One will force it over the other, or they're in that area, they're in that zone, or they might have just came through, but it's a much better area to strike. Plus, when you got grass lines, you got life and crabs and other things that can live on it. So that's a predation thing.
That's a killer tip. I mean, again, the critical thinking or the way to like kind of connect the dots or put the puzzle piece together. It's more like looking at something that's staring back at you and then seeing it for what it actually is, as opposed to just like, oh, a temp break. Well, why is a temp break important? It's just like the other day I was talking to Captain Zach Castro. I was like, man, they only hit the only tuna bites that we got were on the pink side tracker bar. And he goes, well, yeah, when squid are getting fed on, they fire up and they turn red. And it's like, these things that like I would never think of, that are so obvious when you actually hear it. It's like, oh, no way, that's the answer to the riddle. Duh, it was staring me in the face the whole time. So this is just another killer one to think about the actual, bait swimming from warm water into 4 or 5 degree water change difference in terms of temperature, and then boom, they're lethargic. And then the fish are smart enough to know that's where we want to be, because that's where our easy meal is without having to burn up a bunch of calories to get it, which I think we all know by now. Fish are inherently lazy feeders. Like they want the most calories for the least amount of effort, and what you just said makes perfect sense as a result. So and thanks for downloading that to us. That was very generous of you.
Yeah, man. Yeah, they use, if you look at it a little different, it'll help you increase your catch. And I'm not gonna be here forever. I can't hog it all.
Yeah.
And it's just and not to mention, it's just a thought I have. I could be totally wrong, but it's like you said, it kind of sounds practical when you look at it that way.
I tend to, like I think many, perk up and listen when, when the captain who runs the boat that is always, putting up beautiful dock shots talks. I tend to listen. So thank you. Man, if there was ever a killer, variety report, I would say this was it. We went through, the white marlin, the tuna bites, the false albie bites, or fat alberts as you call them. And then into the mahi. I'm excited about this September, man. I hope that this bite just continues to be good for you.
Yep, we'll be transitioning into swordfish right after that, and starting to do that in October. We'll be doing some sword trips and dropping for those here soon as well. They hope
Man,
that
that's awesome.
that bite picks up, but
It'd be cool to see you put old Clyde Goins on another 190-pound swordfish. That would be a heck of a sword to see boated again. Man, if folks are listening, they're like, I got to get out there. I got to get on this action. I got to fish with Bill and Russ. Got to get on playing hooky. Get booked and get bleeping hooked, as you said on your story the other day.
Man. That was crazy. I had to. I was like, sorry, I'm gonna cuss, and I had to.
You were so fired up.
I was fired up, dude. I was fired up.
That was great. That was great. Well, what's the best way folks can get booked on playing hooky?
They can go to playinghookycharters.com. It's PLAYINHOOKEY charters.com, and they can look up a charter there. And if they want to get on the walk-ons, it's the same thing. And you just go down the thing and you can get on a walk-on if you're a single. And you can also call 757-619-3530. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram. We're on TikTok. We're not adding too much there yet, but we've got a few things up there, and we got a reel coming for you guys soon, some marlin fishing. We're going to have probably another reel on some, I don't know. I've been holding out on some good stuff. I got to get it out there though. It's coming.
Heck yeah, man. Well, I'm excited to see it. And thank you for being on the show today, man. It's always a treat.
Yeah, you're welcome, man. It was great talking with you as always, Luke. Take care, buddy.
You too, buddy. Thank you. Folks, that's going to wrap up a really exciting, fun, action-packed, and a new item for the menu with Captain Bill. So hope you guys enjoyed that. Stick around for a quick word from our sponsors, and we'll be back with you real soon.
Upgrade your waterfront with Killer Doc's premium dock furniture, built to last a lifetime in marine conditions. Crafted from marine-grade aluminum with a protective anti-corrosion coating, it's tough enough to handle the elements while providing unmatched comfort. Featuring sunbrella cushions with fast-drying, removable covers, our furniture stays securely in place even in storms. Choose from cabanas, club chairs, love seats, tables, and more to create your perfect dockside retreat. Durability meets elegance at Killer Doc. Check out the full collection at killerdoc.com today. Looking to protect your dock with materials built to last? Shoreline Plastics has you covered. As leaders in composite marine dock pilings and building materials, they engineer solutions that stand the test of time. Their EcoPile is the ultimate composite piling designed for longevity and eco-friendliness, ensuring your dock remains strong for years. And if you need a quick fix for worn pilings, try Snap Jacket, a durable solution that restores and extends their life. Visit shorelineplastics.com to discover how you can elevate your next marine project. Shoreline Plastics, where durability meets innovation.
All right, you guys. Want to shift gears and talk a little bit about what's been going on inside of this washing machine of a bay as we've kind of dealt with some of these north winds, and then take a little bit of a crawl up into the river and talk inshore. So I wanted to catch up with Captain Travis Kemp with Foolproof Fishing and see what he's been seeing and catching. Cap Travis, how we doing tonight, brother?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. Just getting home from another day of chasing after these cobias.
How was it today?
Today was a tougher day for me, but you'll have that, you know. We had a really good day yesterday. Caught, I think, 14 yesterday, and today we were a little bit more of the bug today. We caught 3, pulled a couple off, and had some that wouldn't eat, but, you know, you'll have that on these days.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the wind's changed a little bit. I know it's been blowing out of the north pretty good, and then today, what were the winds doing today and the tide?
Today started out the morning like straight south, and it wasn't very rough. It was pretty nice. And then, you know, we saw a few fish early and around some bait. And then this afternoon, of course, it goes southeast and it's outgoing tide, and you get out there around Cape Henry and she gets a little sloppy.
For those that are listening that maybe don't know like what that actually means when the tide and the wind, you know, are opposing, kind of talk us through that. Like, why does it build up so much? Like, how does it have such a profound effect on the wave height and sloppiness?
Well, gonna get wave height with the wind. You know, it's blowing 20 out of the southeast. You're gonna get some swell, but then you get the tide against it, and it just pushes them close together and makes them a little steeper. You know, it's
Got it.
you know, you get three footers at a couple seconds. It's you know, it gets a little tight.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You start taking them on the nose and getting wet and all that jazz. It's never fun.
Yep. Taking a few over the bow today, but that's part of it.
That's pretty special to do that. Remind the folks listening what kind of a boat do you guys run over there? Foolproof.
No, I have a 25-foot Southern Cross, you know, and it's the boat will take a lot more than the people will take most days, but it's when it takes them over the bow, it's very sporty.
Yeah. That thing has what, like a 10-foot beam on it?
Yeah, she's big, wide, and stable. You know, I try to keep it comfortable for the customers. You know, I don't need to go get beat up and, you know, tear stuff up and hurt people for no reason, but it's it'll take it, man.
Well, I mean, at least you guys were out there and, you know, saw a few fish. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens this year with having the five more days in the season, and then we had Hurricane Aaron blow through. I'll be interested to see if we have a strong finish. If my memory serves, last year it was like we really didn't even have a September, did we?
Last year it was pretty much over, I think by the 10th, and then you know, it was just like we have coming up starting Sunday. We have the never-ending nor'easter. I don't know if you've looked at the forecast, but it looks like from Sunday to next weekend we have northeast at 15 to 25 every single day. And, you know, if that happens long enough, those fish flush out, and you know, you might catch some on buoys, and maybe if the stingrays ever show up, we'll have some of that action, but it gets pretty slow.
Yeah, you just said something that has had me puzzled all season long, which is like, where are the cow-nosed stingrays? Like, we've had this epic tuna bite, we've had this epic marlin bite, we've got mahi, you know, and then it seems like everything's super alive, but the cow-nosed rays, like, where are they?
Maryland, New Jersey.
They're not here.
Same place a lot of the cobias are.
Right? Still way north.
Oh yeah.
Is that terribly uncommon, or is it just we gotta wait for that wave of fish to come back down through?
Nah, I think those fish have always, you know, gone a little further north than we think. But this year, you know, we had an early year where the fish came in quick. You know, it was early May, and there was fish off the beach out there, and then the bay was so cold. I think a lot of those fish stayed in the ocean and moved to the north or stayed on the bottom. And then July, it got so hot, you know, the fish didn't want to be in that 90-degree water in the bay. I mean, I'd say 90, but it was like, I think I had 88 one day in the bay, 89 in my creek. So those fish, they go way up and way out, and they don't like that.
No, and I mean, you said, you know, maybe you'll see them on buoys. I mean, we saw them on a buoy, and we was seeing them on buoys and on balls, and structure, like the bridge. In your opinion, you know, holding on structure, aside from the obvious, what do you think?
Well, you're breaking up pretty bad, so I'm not 100% sure what all you said there, but the fish tend to always get structure orientated later in the season. You know, whether it be structure just being potted up and staying with themselves, being on buoys, but, you know, bait balls, bridge pilings, whatever. You know, it seems like that actually happened a little earlier this year. You know, we had some structure fish at the end of July, or mid-July actually, which is a little different than usual, but it's been a weird year, but you'll have that. Yeah,
and I'm sorry I broke up. You answered part of my question, and the other part of the question was, like, in your opinion, whether it's a physiological reason or a psychological reason, like what do you think makes them stay on structure as opposed to just swimming on through, like the bridge or the buoys, for example?
I think a lot of it is just, they get kind of staged up before they leave. They group up and get ready to head out together. I think they're kind of in just a holding pattern when they're doing that.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, it's always interesting to see them.
They kind of they'll lay up in the current and just kind of, it's much easier. They don't have to swim real hard. They just kind of lay there and just wait for bait to come by or whatever else is happening. But they like them buoys and they like the bridge and bait balls. I think they swim with bait balls, obviously for, easy feed reasons, but bait balls, buoys, and rays and bridge pilings is just something they do later in the year before they leave.
Yeah. It's been interesting to see different things. The other day when we were trying to catch some bait, had some ballyhoos in the net inside the bay. That was bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
Did not expect to see that. The bluefish obviously are tearing up the bait balls. I'm curious, a lot of times when you're fishing on structure, especially the bridge, it can be a real challenging fishery for kind of two reasons. One, it can be hard for some people to spot them because you have to really know what you're looking for. And two, maneuvering the boat and obviously the fish without getting broken off on a piling is hard. What are your sort of tips or tactics that you deploy to be successful and mitigate the breakoffs?
Well, that's tough because the bridge is kind of one of those things we don't like to talk about. But the main thing, which I think everybody needs to know about the bridge, and a lot of people don't, is the best way to fish the bridge is ride the down current side. For the love of God.
I knew you were going to say that because we don't want to talk about every single pro tip. This helps everybody because if you're going on the up current side, not only are you hurting yourself, but you're hurting everybody else. So unless you're just one of those charter captains that wants to kind of, bother everyone else, just be a good steward of the fishery and your friends, and just like you said, for the love of all that's holy, ride the down the current side. And okay, obviously we're having some laughs, but I mean, why is that important to do? Like, let's just go ahead and dig into this a little bit and drive home the reason why that's so.
Let me back up a little. There is people that have been cobia fishing longer than I've been alive that ride the up current side of the poles and they do just fine. But especially now the fish are more pressured than they have been ever. That whitewash that comes off your prop, when it goes across the piling with the current, because the current, if you're up current, it's going to go across the piling. It's going to wash the fish down the poles. They don't like the bubble trail. Think about when you're in open water and you come across the fish and you don't see him until it's too late and he hits your prop wash. What happens? It goes down. They don't like prop wash. Prop wash makes them go down, and then they're going to stay down for a while until they want to come back up. And you're not just hurting yourself, but you're hurting everybody else when that happens.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that, like you said, if you don't know, you don't know. I mean, there's so many little things. I mean, I've been cobia fishing for about 10 years, and I feel like I learn something new every day. Or a mistake happens and I'm reminded of something that I know to do that I had been forgetting to do, like sharpening my hooks or feeling the leader up close to the hook or double checking my knots or checking my baits, whatever, you name it. Even the other day I was reminded of not putting too many, don't overcrowd your live well because they'll die. There's so many little things that have to be done correctly. So that's a great tip. Ride the down current side. I'd also throw in there, try if you can, once you hook a fish, fight it out through the down current side, even if that means dragging it through the other set of poles, because you're better off just getting clear of those poles altogether and fighting that fish with the current. Fighting a fish against the current, you're at a huge disadvantage.
It's no different than catching a fish on a buoy too. When you see a fish on any kind of structure that's stationary, so, I mean, this applies to buoys, bridge, whatever, a piling, whatever you see them on, if if you see the fish on there, you want to cast out in front of it. And me personally, I try to pull the bait away from the fish to get its head turned off of the structure. Then let it eat, whether it's jig, live bait, whatever you're throwing at it. And then usually when it eats, if its face is off of the bridge and you just kind of fight it like a normal fish, they'll stay off the structure. That way, especially on a buoy, they love that chain. But if you get them far enough off of it before you let them eat, it's just like fighting an open water fish. They don't necessarily bolt right back to it or take you around.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, when you get into a real big fish in that scenario, gosh, I can't think of the number of times where it's just like they just take off so quick and you're broke off before you can even blink. I mean, is there even anything we can do as anglers to prevent that, or is it just kind of like bad luck and that's what happens sometimes on the big fish?
It happens. I mean,
yeah.
I know this is going to sound crazy. A couple weeks ago, I had one on, and it went through the pilings of the bridge. It was on the bridge. And I tied my bumper to my rod and reel and threw it through the pilings.
No, you did not.
That's awesome. With the fish on it, let it drift down and ended up catching the fish.
Dude, that's brilliant. That's some quick thinking right there. Did you have a buoy ready to go for that, or did you just make something up real fast?
I just the boat fender that you hang on your cleat when it's sitting in the wet slip.
Yeah.
It stays in the console, pulled it out and tied it on there.
And then from a rod and reel maintenance perspective, obviously that thing got submerged in salt water. What do you do to properly care for that reel after taking a full submerged saltwater bath?
For lots of fresh water.
I would be soaking mine in Salt's Gone, just to make sure. But
as soon as it comes out of the water, while it's still wet, you want to hit it with fresh water. But right. I use spin fishers and slammers, and they the IPX5 sealed on the spin fishers. So technically it should be okay. But I'm one of those guys that if something like that happens, I took it apart that night and just made sure there was no salt water inside of it. Put a little bit of fresh grease around it and some oil on the shaft. Whatever you got to do, keep it in the game.
I still have a Daiwa BG that took a swim with me back in 2023 around this time of year, where fish swam through the piles, and I said, "Not today, Cobia." And I was in much better shape then. I jumped in the water and swam with the rod in my mouth through the piles, through two sets of piles, and then from the north span across to the south span over there by the high rise, and then through one more set of piles, and then finally got free and clear and caught the fish. But as soon as I got home, I just filled up a bucket of water and just soaked the reel in the water and then let it dry out. And she's 2 years later, she's still spinning straw. The drag system's a little bit noisier, a little bit tighter than the other ones, but she still works just fine. But yeah, it's always fun catching fish on structure is always fun because it almost gets real tactical. You have to be real mindful of the boat, the people, the cast, the eat, and it's a real dance to make it all come together and successfully catch the fish without either breaking it off or bumping your boat into a bridge pile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we haven't had the opportunity to do much of it this year. They haven't been on the bridge very much. So we had a week or so back at the end of July, 1st of August, where it was decent, and it's just been kind of lackluster ever since.
Yep. It's been a weird Cobia season in general, in terms of just the number of fish present, the number of days that we've gone out there and really not seen a lot. I mean, I think I was telling you before we hit record, I went out there yesterday and you kind of told me what you were seeing, some fish and bait, on the bay side. And I'd heard, from Robbie that there was some fish and bait out front. And I'm like, man, what do we do? And we weren't seeing anything, and went and looked at some buoys and, looked at a bunch of buoys, and finally one buoy had a good fish on it. That fish did not want to eat a live bait because it had a belly full of, had 8 full-size blue crabs in its belly. I mean, to me, that was just, I didn't know those bellies got that big, but to me, that was just remarkable to see that many crabs inside of a cobia.
I mean, well, you just kind of answered one of your questions. eating crabs. They've been on the bottom. They have been on the bottom. You know, you say it's been a weird year. It has. You know, I hear a lot of people saying that it's not been good. There's no fish or whatever, but there is a lot of fish. You know, they've been on the bottom, because when they come up and you're in the right spot and they decide they're coming to the surface, I've seen some things this year. There's a lot of fish out there. They're just, you know, not wanting to spend much time on the surface this year for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a number of things. I mean, nobody really knows yet how the windmill bases and all that construction out there is affecting them. I mean, to go out there and actually see all that in person and think about the amount of electrical current that's flowing underwater and all of the construction and the noise. I mean, we have no idea how that's affecting the fishery. I mean, we know it's certainly creating a ton of structure, but we have no idea how many fish are hanging up out there versus coming into the bay. There's definitely a lot of change happening in our fishery. And then I'm thinking back to, you know, we were up there at the meeting when they discussed the changes for this year with the 43-inch minimum, and the season being extended to September 20th. And I remember, man, I'm brain farting on her name, Shanna Matson, talking about the way that they kind of weight the days, how early June days are weighted as much heavier impact to the fishery, and these later September days are weighted as limited impact. And she said it has a lot to do with people being out of school and able to fish, and it's early summer. Fish are moving in droves. They're hungry, and then this time of year, it's blowing northeast. Everyone's back to school, and there's just not as many people fishing or fish around. So I really hope we get a good spurt here at the end of the season, and we can hopefully enjoy this extra 5 days. But we're gonna have to hold our breath for now, because we don't really know what this winter's gonna do.
It's been blowing northeast for a month, Luke.
I know. It's not fun to watch it just continue to show up as the forecast just any and never stops.
Yeah, it's tough. You know.
Yeah. Well,
we've gone in some stuff this year that we don't want to go in, and you know, we've made our days, but man, I'm tired of it. I'm ready for. I want Southwest for 5 days. That's like not 25. It'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. That would be very cool.
Cobia like consistency.
You know, you're right. They do. It's like when we have that shift from like a storm right back to calm, that first day of calm, it's like there's no activity. It takes a couple of days for like sediment to settle and for them to be back up near the surface again. But one of the cool things that I love about the Lower Chesapeake Bay, even when the weather is like it is now, there's so much to do besides go out in the bay and, you know, ride around and look for cobia. Our rivers are an awesome place to fish, and you know, you and Foolproof take full advantage of that. Tell us a little bit about some of the recent trips you guys have done inshore and what we have coming up here at the end of September and October. What kind of stuff are you guys going to be doing?
Well, as I said, with all the Northeast, we've been having some inshore trips here lately. You know, some people opt to go do that, which it's always an option. You know, fishing. You know, Little Creek, Lynnhaven, some of the, you know, the estuaries here on the Lower Bay, and we've been catching a lot of puppy drum. I had a trip day before yesterday. I think we caught 14 on a 4-hour inshore trip. You know, that's pretty good. And they're almost all of them were keeper size fish. Although, you know, they didn't care to keep any of them, so they let them all go. But it was good fishing. You know, I had a trip a few days before that where we caught a handful. It's pretty fun catching them on real light tackle. You know, talking 10-pound test on 2,000, 2,500 size reels, and they're just getting dumped. It's pretty fun.
That's very fun. It's also very relaxing too. There's something fun about just getting out there on smooth, calm water early in the morning. You know, it's a crisp morning, got your coffee, you're with your boys, and just run out there and cast up along some banks and some oyster beds and wherever else you can get. And like you said, when you're on a 2,000 reel and you get hit by a 30-inch puppy drum, I mean, it's fun. It is a good time.
Oh yeah, that's right. We actually hooked 3 the day before yesterday that we couldn't stop. One of them broke us off. One of them to the other 2 we pulled hook trying to slow them down. Just couldn't do nothing with them. And we've caught 30 inchers that didn't fight like that. I mean, there's some big fish in there on the inside. You'd be surprised. I think there's some 35, maybe 36-inch fish in there.
Shoo. And is it just puppy drum right now, or are you seeing other things like black drum or flounder or speckled trout?
There's been some flounder around. There's been some trout in Lynnhaven. We've caught a couple of black drum, not inside, but out, sheep's head fishing, hitting some wrecks. But and right now it's mainly puppy drum for us. We'll get more into the trout later in September and into October, and then we really get on the trout starting end of October into November and December. We'll probably move the boat to the Elizabeth River towards the end of October and really dial in the trout bite.
Very cool. That'll be cool. It's always fun to chase a paperwork trout. Those things are pretty special. They're just such beautiful fish. I'm curious on the puppy drum this time of year, as we have the season is changing quickly and the water temps are changing. Are you having to throw a myriad of baits before you find out what they're keyed in on, or are you finding that there's a good consistency right now in terms of what they're willing to bite?
The puppy drum?
Yeah, the
I
puppy
can't
drum.
tell you what I'm catching. Luke.
Come on, man. The check's in the mail.
We've been catching them on, a mix of soft plastics and live bait.
Got it.
Some cut bait, cut crab, cut spot, and a few have been caught on live baits.
Okay, very cool.
We're starting to get some finger mullets in the creek.
Oh, that's good to hear. I know some folks are a fan of the pop and cork. What's your opinion on those? Is that an effective tool, or do you prefer
Absolutely.
to work bait? Okay.
I've been actually most of the fish we've been catching are on pop and corks.
Huh. I've personally never been, and maybe it's just one of those things where you don't have the confidence in it because you've never had a good experience using it, and you might have all the confidence in the world in it. But yeah, I've never seemed to be able to get good bites on a pop and cork, and maybe I'm just not patient enough. But when you're working a pop and cork, what are some of the common mistakes that guys like me are making that cause us to not have faith in them?
Working it too fast.
Got it.
Gotta eat. Sometimes you pop it once or twice and let it sit for 5 minutes. You know what I mean? You just gotta, especially when in the current, you gotta kind of let the bait do the work. The main reason for the pop and cork, and for me at least, is to keep the bait up off the bottom, away from the crabs, away from the grass and the oysters. It's just kind of like, getting your bait in the water column that's going to give it the most success. I'll put cut bait and live bait on the pop and cork.
Really? Huh.
Yes, sir.
Well, that's good to hear. Well, man, it gets me excited. I think, the transition out of Cobia into inshore fishing is always a little sad to me because, I mean, the summertime and Cobia fishing is just one of the highlights of the Lower Chesapeake Bay. It's one of the most fun things that we have around here to do in terms of not being up at 3:30 in the morning, but still getting a true sport fish experience when you get hooked into one. I was telling you about that fish that we caught off that buoy, and she ended up weighing 62 pounds, and just watching my buddy Dave, fight that thing for 25 minutes, truly man versus fish. I don't know what your categorization is. I was afraid to, post it because I didn't want to put, too many X's before the L or not enough X's before the L, but in Travis Kemp and foolproof language, how many X's is a 62 pounder? Is it 2, 3, or 4 X's before the L?
Usually mine is more based on length, but I think that's a 2 or 3 fish.
Right.
If it's over 50 inches, it's an XL. Obviously, because you can get a release citation for it. 55 inches to 60 inches is a double X, and 60 over is a triple.
All right,
that's how I do it. But everybody has their way.
Yeah, no, I like that because, weight can be very subjective. She was one of those what I call parallel fishes. So she was 62 inches, 62 pounds, um, which I
Mm-hmm.
thought was, I actually thought she was going to weigh a good bit more than that. Because her belly looked really big, but it turns out her belly wasn't full of roe, it was full of blue crabs, and blue crabs are just simply not that heavy. Um, but they do take up a lot of space, especially when there's 8 of them. And these are like jimmies, like these are like 7, 8 inches across from tip to tip. So it was very,
Mm-hmm.
very interesting to see. Um, and she ate a jig, which was crazy. I thought that surely she would eat a live finfish, and she just ignored it. But of course, it's because she had her belly full of crabs. And I threw a jig in there, just hoping to get some sort of a "hey, get out of here" type of reactionary bite. And sure enough, by some miracle, that worked.
Nah, you said it. Sometimes it takes the reaction bite to get them to bite.
Yeah,
You got to get them angry.
which is crazy to me. Because my faith in a jig over a live bait is not that high. So to see that was super, super interesting. It was almost like she was perturbed that so many baits had flown at her that this one, I mean, the only thing I could say about the jig that I would say is special is that it was dark feathers and it had a rattle in it. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not one to be suspicious, but who knows? Maybe that little bit of noise was just enough to either make her feel threatened or irritated or whatever. But regardless of how she ate, I was just extremely grateful that she managed to come in the boat. And it was my buddy Dave's first weight citation on a cobia, and a good one at that. But just getting to watch that fight was just so cool. Seeing her roll on the surface and dig, and we really struggled to get her in the boat because she just every time we get her close to being ready to net her, she would just turn and just we were at her mercy. She had, as my buddy Dave says, 51% of the vote every time we voted. So, and she did not want to come on board.
I was just saying that's what them big cobia do. You get them close to the boat, they like to go down and keep their head down and dog you.
Absolutely. So what else have you guys been up to besides cobia and puppy drum? Anything else that y'all have chased lately, or is that pretty much the gist of things right now?
That's the gist of it mainly. We've had a couple of big drum, catching the bigger ones out in the bay. We'll be doing a lot more of that here after cobia season closes. I've got probably a dozen, big drum trips booked and a couple days left open for that. So if anybody wants to go try to catch a big drum, give me a shout. And then, like I said, we'll be switching gears to speckled trout and puppy drum once that slows down and moving on along.
Nice, man. Well, if folks are listening and want to get out there and fish with you and do any of the above that we just talked about, what's the best way they can get booked on Foolproof Fishing?
Easiest way is to give me a call or a text at 252-435-5967, or shoot me a message on either of the social medias, Foolproof Fishing on Facebook or Instagram.
Awesome, man. Well, y'all heard it here. Give him a shout. Get on the gram. Message him. Get out there. There's lots to do. Big drum, a couple more cobias, and then turn your attention to the inshore stuff. Definitely, if you've got younger, kids or some coworkers, inshore trips are a lot of fun, especially if you got folks with varying levels of sea legs and or fishing experience. Those inshore trips can be a really cool way to get introduced to saltwater fishing. So, Captain Travis, man, always a pleasure having you on. I feel like I always learn something. You've got one of those high fish IQs where you really like to study and understand what's really going on. So always enjoy picking your brain, man. Thanks for being on the show.
Yes, sir. No problem. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Folks, that's going to wrap it up this week. I hope you guys had a wonderful and safe Labor Day weekend last weekend, and we'll look forward to catching up with you next week. Let's pray these northeast winds away, and y'all be safe out there. Talk soon.
The days of heading out and blindly looking for good fishing areas are pretty much over. Don't waste time and money on fuel searching for fish. What you need are the most recent, highest resolution images to not only know where to go, but where not to go. The knowledge provided by today's technology is critical when planning an offshore fishing trip. So make the choice that captains all up and down the East Coast make and choose Hilton's Real-Time Navigator. The easy-to-use interface and excellent customer service will have you on the fish every time you go. Check them out at hiltonsoffshore.com. Hooked on fishing? Then you're part of the local community that Long Bay Point Bait and Tackle cares about serving and giving back to, providing you with the right selection for each season's target species. They're your one-stop shop to gear up with the best bait, tackle, and insider tips to catch your next trophy fish. You can fuel up right out front on the water and then chat with the crew inside for hot tips on where they're biting. So swing by today. Long Bay Point Bait and Tackle, where your fishing adventures start and finish with your trophy catch on their scales. All right, y'all, that's going to wrap it up this week. Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. And remember, to get your free APCO Camo Sunglasses Cleaner Cloth, text the acronym LCBFR to 779-345-2918 to get your promo code and be added to our email list so we can send you the new show each week. You guys keep on whacking them and be safe out there.